Good morning. This is Dave Beam, and I want to welcome you to the June Hour Power. The Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce, the Ashland Alliance, and Ohio University Southern is our sponsor, and I have a great program for you today. I'm really excited to get started. What we're going to look at for the next several minutes is competence, understanding competence. I just want to provide you some great information to help you coach yourself and your team to excellence. And the whole thing that kind of precipitated this as a topic is the fact that as a coach, I often get asked about, Dave, I need help getting my team to be more confident in their work. Sometimes I've got competent people that know what they're doing. They are just hesitant to take the ownership or take on the responsibility. They seem to lack confidence. They're not sure of themselves. They come back and they ask a lot of questions. They ask the same questions over and over. And I'm just wondering, Dave, where does confidence come from? Is there something you can do to help them? And a lot of folks in our industry think it's all about just PMA, positive mental attitude, affirmations, pep talks. You can do this. Just go out and give it the good old college try. And I really think it's a little more than that. And if we really slow this down this morning and take a look at what real confidence, true authentic confidence is and where it comes from, I think we can learn how to help ourselves and our team members to have some more confidence. So that is the goal today. And so let's take, first of all, a look at just what the definition of confidence is. So what is confidence? The word confidence comes from a Latin word, fidere, which means just to trust. The American Heritage Dictionary defines it as the trust in a person or a thing. From an emotional standpoint, it's more like a feeling of certainty or just a good sense that I'm in control and that I can handle things, a confidence in myself. Kind of a definition I've put in there is it's a stability and an assurance that you just know you can produce good results. I heard it said this way once: if you look at a chair and you sit in the chair, well, you have confidence that chair is obviously going to hold you up or you wouldn't sit in it. You're confident that that chair is going to deliver what it purports to be by being a chair. And so if we think about confidence, it's pretty simple. It's just a strong belief or an assurance or a trust that I can do what I say I can do. And so let's take a little bit deeper look. Confident people in my world of coaching have a certain mindset, a certain paradigm. A paradigm is kind of a way of seeing the world, and confident people have a paradigm or a thinking like an owner versus a victim. This is such an important distinction in life and in business and in performance and in achievement. Owners take ownership. They see life and they see their job as a stewardship. It's something given to them that they take and they make something of it. Confident people own their situation. Victims, on the other hand, lack a confidence that they can change anything, especially themselves. I think this pandemic gives us a great example of victim thinking. In fact, if you watch the news, I don't recommend you do a lot of that if you want to build confidence. You are really bombarded with a victim type thinking that all this problem out here is going to just cause you all kinds of trouble, and it's going to shut you down, and it's going to hold you back, and it's going to provide all kinds of excuses and reasons why you can't succeed and get ahead. And so owners, on the other hand, don't really focus so much on the problem. They want to define problems well and see what the problem is, but they're always doing that for the purpose of being solution oriented. They know that as an owner, they have the ability to make choices, and that between stimulus and response, in the words of Stephen Covey, he talks about Viktor Frankl and that wonderful classic book, that between stimulus and response, there is this moment when we can respond to things. And that's that moment of ownership. That's that moment when we can choose. And so owners are winners versus whiners. Victims whine and complain. Owners create and win. Owners see life and circumstances as kind of like a raw material that they've been given, and now they have an opportunity to create a masterpiece from that. And sometimes they're given real odd pieces for the puzzle. Sometimes they're given real interesting colors for the artwork, and they have to be very creative and strategic and think about how to take very interesting circumstances and out of all that create something that works. It's like a game. And that's the way owners think. Victims just throw up their hands and just blame the system and blame the government and blame other people and make excuses for not performing. So we're talking about confidence this morning. Confident people think like owners versus victims. Let's talk a little more about this owner mindset. This is a concept here that I think will really, really serve you well today. This is worth the price of admission if you get this one today. I want to talk about the anti-fragile mindset. It is the mindset of an owner. And so let me just take you through the concept here. We have two things we're going to consider. We're going to consider a flame, and we're going to consider wind. So if you think of the flame as a candle in the first example of fragile, the wind comes and blows out the candle. So the candle is fragile. It dies in the face of wind. The lantern takes that flame and it encases it in a protective cover. So it puts a strength around it, and it survives the wind. So the wind comes, and the wind is the enemy, and the wind is the problem, but the lantern stands down and hunkers down and just endures and survives the onslaught of that wind, and that flame survives, but it's a survival thought. Most people think that's what you do in life when difficulty comes. You either die and just collapse because you're too fragile to handle it, or the opposite of being fragile is I'm just robust and strong, and I just hold up under it, and I bear up under it, and I survive through it, and I get through it. But a true ownership mindset, there's a third paradigm, this thought of anti-fragile, and it's represented on the chart here as a bonfire. Think about a bonfire and wind. When wind hits a bonfire, it actually thrives. It actually grows stronger. It actually benefits from the thing that really is an enemy to the candle and even to the lantern. Owners see difficulty and challenges and obstacles as material to help them create a change and an outcome and a growth and something better. An anti-fragile mindset means that we look at things not as something to kill us or not as something just to get through, but actually something that we can use and get from. That's the anti-fragile mindset. And a confident person has that kind of owner mindset where it's an anti-fragile approach to difficulty. I really challenge you to give that some thought and to really consider how you're looking at even your current circumstances. Are you looking at it in a fragile way, like I just can't take anymore, I'm about to die? Or are you just kind of closed in and hunkered down and have this protection around you and you're just trying to get through it and survive? That's not the most healthy mindset, because you're just kind of holding the status quo. Or are you embracing all of life, including the difficulties and the obstacles, and saying, What can I get from this? What can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger in this? How can this situation teach me something? That's the anti-fragile mindset. That is the mindset of a true owner. Next, confident people demonstrate integrity. Integrity is a very interesting word. The root of that word is the word integer. What is an integer? On the chart here, we've got the number 1. That's the first integer. It's a whole number. Whole number. What does a whole number have to do with integrity? Well, people that have integrity are whole people. They're not divided. They're single-minded. They're not duplicitous. They're not wafflers. They don't go from here to here. Also, what you see in a person of integrity is what you get. What's on the outside is what's on the inside. You know, back in the Greek days, the word hypocrite was used for the stage actors. Those are the folks that would carry around the masks, the little smiley faces or the sad faces. Now, the real person was behind the mask, but they projected something that was different, and they were hypocrites. That's the total opposite of having integrity, is hypocrisy, where what you represent and what you say is not what's really true. You think about confidence. A confident person has an inner peace, an inner wholeness, an inner honesty and integrity that says what you see is what you get. They're confident because they're not representing that they can do something that they can't do. They're saying, I know I'm good at this. I'm competent at this. I know I've got more to learn. And here's a way that they demonstrate that integrity. Confident people are willing to test and measure. This is really just another expression of the word accountability. They're willing to be accountable. What does it mean to be accountable? If I want to help my team member be confident, they need to learn how to be accountable. And I, as the business owner or the manager or the boss, I need to make it a safe environment for people to be accountable. What do we mean by that? They can test and measure their results. It's all about delivering objective results. It's all about winning the game and getting the result. It's all about meeting the standard or exceeding the standard. So we set clear standards. If we want to be a business and a person of excellence, we set very clear standards, and then we test and measure against that standard. And we see very clearly when we're meeting that standard, and then we see where there's a gap. And that's good when we see there's a gap. That's not a failure, that's an observation, that's a measurement. And that's why we measure things, to see if they measure up, if they measure up to the standard. And it's not that the person necessarily measures up, it's that their activity, their performance doesn't measure up. So people who have confidence are willing to put their performance on the line. They're willing to have things tested and measured and analyzed so that they can improve and get better. I think about Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes are, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Champion athletes love feedback. They love the game film. They want to test and measure, and they want to analyze objectively their performance so that they can improve. That is the mindset of a confident person. They don't go into denial, and they don't hide from their results. They welcome feedback, not criticism so much of them as a person, but more of a criticism of their performance and their product and what they're producing. And that is so important if we're going to be confident that in integrity, we are open to honest feedback, an open evaluation and an honest evaluation of what we're producing. So we're a confident person and we produce something. If I want a confident culture in my business, if I want to have a confidence myself, I need to learn how to celebrate when I do well. My psychology is such that I want to marinate and I want to develop this mentality of a winner. And when I win, I really want to kind of relish in that winning and bask in that winning. And I want to kind of let it sink into my psyche. And I want to start to see myself as a winner, as somebody who succeeds, as somebody who gets things done, as somebody who can meet the standard. We do the testing and measuring, and when we pass the test, we celebrate. I think sometimes in businesses where I work and coach, that's what's lacking. We just don't have a culture of celebration. It's kind of like old school. Well, you get a paycheck. Why do we need to celebrate it? Why do we need to acknowledge good performance? And I think that's a real loss for the business owner and for the business team, that when we celebrate success, we really increase that confidence because we're affirming that we've succeeded and we've accomplished something. So what about the folks that don't really do an excellent job, an awesome job? They just kind of do a mediocre or an okay job. Well, I think the proper response there to build confidence is to acknowledge that you're doing okay. But we are going to be a company or an organization of excellence. So you also have some room for improvement. So acknowledge where they're getting it right and also help them see where they can get better. Now let's talk about the folks that just go out and mess up. I can sure relate to that myself. I've done that myself. How do we deal with the mess ups and the screw ups that we have ourselves and our people have? Well, that is a wonderful opportunity to learn something. And here's how I recommend you use your mistakes and benefit from your mistakes as a confident person. How does a confident person deal with their mistakes and their shortcomings? What they do is they take an objective testing and measuring of what they've done, and they replay it, but they correct the mistakes in their head. So they visualize what this would have looked like had I done an excellent job. And they learn where the gaps are by looking at where I did well and where I didn't do well. And where I didn't do well, what would that look like if I had done well? And so we don't focus on the mistake over and over again. We don't habituate the mistake and go over and over that. We go over and over and over the correction, and we use the mistake. What happens there in an organization is you become an organization of winners or learners. We're either winning the game and we're exceeding the standards, or we're learning from where we fell short and we want to get better. That's just a great, confident mindset. So here's a formula that we can think of. I call it the confidence formula. It's 4 simple things: decide, commit, simplify, and then step. Let me go through each one of those. Decide. We have to really get clear on what we really want. We have to decide what we want and what is that going to cost us. Are we willing to pay the price to have what we want to have? Well, to know what the price is, we have to know what we really want. And we either commit to paying that price or we don't commit to paying that price. And there's no point in going forward and just taking mediocre tries at things until we really determine this is what I truly want to have. This is truly what I have in a business. This is who I truly want to be as a person. This is truly the level of health I want to have. These are the quality of the relationships I want to have. I decide what I want, and then I get really honest about what I need to commit to get that. So once I have that sense of this is what I want and I'm willing to pay that cost, I need to take that process that it's going to take to get it and I need to simplify it. I need to make it kind of brainless. I need to make it so simple that if I'm going to get this, here's that path to get here. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I need to lay those steps out and then simply start to take the steps. That's that last word, step. I take a step and I complete it. Then I take another step and I complete it. It's kind of like buying something on time. You look and say, I decide that's what I'd really like to buy. Now, am I willing to commit to paying that price for that? Yes. Now I need a simple set of payments a simple process of monthly payment to get that. And then as I take each step each month and make that payment, my confidence builds that I'm well on the way to getting that thing paid off and owning it. It's that kind of process. We need to help our people reduce everything down to a daily focus on the steps that they need to take. And as they learn how to complete things and finish things and take those steps, the confidence will just go through the roof. In other words, confidence comes from creating a clear outcome and committing to that outcome, and then finding multiple pathways to get there. Why is that so? Well, we wish for something and then we define that outcome, and then we're going to find their obstacles. And obstacles are a part of life. Challenge is a part of life. Sometimes we hit roadblocks. Sometimes we hit things where we can't continue on the path that we're on. And we can either give up at that point, or we can be creative and look at another pathway, or we can look at a detour, or we can look at a way around that or over that, or we can break it down or break through it. But we have multiple contingencies to get to that same outcome. Now, we don't change the destination. We've set our compass on where we're going to go. So we've always got that compass that guides us that direction, but we're willing to be open and flexible about how we're going to get there. We need to be creative and create multiple paths to get there. Confident people commit to a strong set of values and outcome, but they remain flexible in playing the game, and they're doing course corrections all the time. This is just good old-fashioned wisdom here. It's one that people don't think of, but confident people embrace hard work. The picture we have here on this slide is pretty interesting. We've got a guy kind of taking a leisurely stroll in the park on the right side, and on the left we have this person pursuing that gold medal. He's training for a marathon. Perhaps in this picture he's even running that marathon. And confident people, when they have a big pursuit and they choose a big goal and they're going to go after it, they're going to go for it, they're going to go big or go home, they realize when they make that choice and they're going to pay that price, that it is a passionate pursuit for a reward. It's a focus. It's a direction. And I'm not just on a leisurely stroll. I've got those blinders on, I've got a focus, and I'm going straight ahead. Confident people embrace the fact that it's a diligent discipline and it's hard work, and there's going to be those obstacles along the way that need to be overcome. And then those are good things. That those things are actually what build my strength and my power. In other words, confident people realize that stress is an asset that builds strength and endurance, not a liability to be avoided. No pressure, no diamond. If we want a diamond, it takes huge pressure. You put that black coal under that huge pressure and it rearranges those atoms of carbon into this beautiful, amazing jewel called a diamond. And so confident people understand that the pursuit of their goals is often stressful. You know, friends, if you have a decent job, if you have a good job, if you have an interesting calling in life, if you have a purpose in life, there's some stress involved. Life is stressful at times. What do I mean by stressful? Well, the total lack of stress is flatline. It's just chilled out completely. It's called death. There's no action and no energy and no power there at all. So stress by its very nature is a good thing. It's like tuning that guitar string to that right tension so that we get the right tone. And confident people realize that that stress at the proper strength is an asset. Because when I stress my muscles and I stress my mentality and I stress my system, I'm building a strength and an endurance, something that's going to endure and persevere. So stress is a good thing. People seem to be so anti-stress these days. They don't want to have any trouble, any problem, any issue. any challenge, they want just everything to be like a vacation. And folks, vacation by its very nature is you're vacating the stress. Work is stressful by its nature. That doesn't have to be a negative thing. We can look at that as an asset and realize that that pressure, that stress is what's forming this beautiful outcome for us. Confident people see it that way. Confident people also view the jitters and the nerves that they have before a performance as something good as well. It's excitement and it's energy. You know, when we want to perform well, and when we want to go play the game well, or when we want to step up and take care of a customer well, or we really want to show up and help someone well and serve well, we want to show up 100%. We want to show up with energy and with passion. If we can look at that physiological response that we call anxiety and that we call nervousness and jitters as really just excitement and energy, we can kind of look at that whole feeling as a power bar, a performance bar, one of these high performance protein bars that somebody would take before performing. If I want to have a great performance, I need energy. I can look at these things that people call jitters and nerves as just emotional excitement and energy that will help me in my performance. And confident people have learned how to redefine those jitters and those nerves as excitement. So that's just another aspect of a confident person. If you got a person that has a lot of nervousness about speaking or about doing sales or cold calls or whatever, this is a great lesson for them. Kind of teach them to rechannel that energy and that physical nervousness into something that's more like excitement. It's by helping them redefine it and see it as energy, like an energy bar. I love this one. Confident people learn to play poorly. This one came from Jack Nicklaus. I would think that most of you know who Jack Nicklaus is. He is just absolutely one of the best golfers to have ever lived. And Jack said that he has noticed through his years of mentoring and helping other people that they're the golfers that do well, the golfers that win championships, that win the trophies, are the ones that learn how to play poorly well. What does that mean, to learn how to play poorly? It means that when you have a shot and it goes off into the woods, that you don't panic and fall apart. It means that you learn how to take one moment and one shot at a time and realize that in the game of golf, you're going to have different conditions. And there are days and there are shots where you're going to do well, and there are days and shots where you're not going to do well. And you can either let that difficulty or that challenge define everything else, or you can just see it as temporary, as something to learn from. Confident people don't panic when they mess up. They have a habit of regaining that balance as soon as they misstep. Again, it's a course correction. They're unbalanced, they miss a shot, they do something, and they take a breath and they center and they get present and they reset. That's what confident people learn how to deal with their missteps. They learn how to basically practice failing and being in crisis and then getting back on track. Many of the astronauts and high performance pilots go through hours and hours of simulation of crisis and failures and problems so that they get an accustomed habitual response to these things. And so they don't panic, but they understand that, oh, when I get knocked off, I just need to have a process and a way to get back in a habit of restoring myself. I love this one. Confident people train like an Olympic athlete, and then they perform like a squirrel. What does that mean? Well, an Olympic athlete, we talked about, they love feedback. They love critique. They like to have that critic right there on their shoulder, pointing things out to them. Here's where you can be better. Here's another way you can try that. Here's another path you can take. They like to engage those mental faculties to really analyze and understand their performance so they can improve it. And sometimes when they're performing in a training session, they really want to be very aware of their movements and what they're doing so they can learn. But folks, when it's showtime, you need to learn how to just turn that switch off and become a squirrel. Squirrel doesn't have much of a frontal cortex. They don't do a lot of critical thinking. In fact, none at all. They just get out there and they're an acrobat. They perform amazing feats high on the high wire. They jump from tree to tree and from limb to limb, going by that instinct and going by that God-given thing that they have that make them these amazing athletes, if you've ever watched one. And folks, that's how confident people perform. They shut down the critic. They shut up the critic. Training time is over. Talk time is over. It's showtime. Story time is done. Now it's showtime. Training is over. This is the game. And when you go into that game, it's a different mentality. You just relax, you breathe, you have fun, and you go for it. Like a squirrel on a wire. So I love that image. And confident people have learned how to flip that switch between training and performing. While they're performing, especially, they live in the present. I want you to think about what kills confidence. Confidence killers come from two places. They come from the past and they come from the future. Future confidence killers are called fears, false expectations appearing real, F-E-A-R. It's a story, a negative story about the future, about what might go wrong, what could go wrong. It's a picture of my embarrassment, of me failing, of me messing up. And if I become focused on that, it takes me out of that squirrel-like present moment when I'm just going to flow with what's going on and perform at my highest level, because my mind is not going to be with me. It's going to be over here in the future on a story that's a lie, a story that has not even occurred. There's another place that kills confidence. It's our past. Past failures, past resentments, past difficulties that we've had with people, past relationships. You know, the past doesn't exist any more than the future does, except between our ears. And that's not even accurate either, because it's selective. We only remember certain things about the past. And those negative things about the past and those down things about the past, they war on our presence. Folks, if you can be just in the present, like a two-year-old doesn't have much thought about the past or the future. You can be with the people you're with, 100% fully engaged in the activity you're in. Confidence will blossom. Confidence occurs when we're acting in the now, and we don't have our minds distracted with the past and with the future. Here's a real practical one. Confidence thrives in fit vessels. Our bodies are the temple. They're the thing that carries the value. They're the thing that executes the actions and the activities and the performance and the things that we need to do. For us to be confident and to exude confidence and to express confidence, we basically need to have a great vessel, a fit vessel. There's a great book out there called Eat, Sleep, and Move. So those first 3 points on the slide are you eating healthy? We put that apple out there. I think that's a good representative of good eating. Are you eating healthy? Are you sleeping? At least 8 hours a night. Any good scientist or sleep person will tell you that if you're less than 8 hours a night, you are sleep deprived. There is no way that you will perform at maximum capacity when you sleep less than 8 hours a night. This body that we have, this vessel we have, was made to move. It was designed to be in motion. If you're just sitting around all day, just reading and just watching television and watching videos, and you're not getting up and moving in some way, you're not going to be the best person you can be. You're not going to have the greatest amount of confidence that you could have if you're not moving. if you're not eating and sleeping and moving and breathing. Oxygen is the vitality of life. It's the one thing that when it's gone, we're dead. You can go a long time without food. You can go a few days without water, but you can only go a few minutes without oxygen. It's important to learn how to breathe deeply, how to really get every cell oxygenated so that energy and that presence is there. And then just the way we stand, shoulders back confidently. It's amazing that our brain and our psyche will take cues from our physicality. When we stand tall and we stand proud and we stand confident, that actually sends signals to our brain that we're confident people. So just the way we hold ourselves will help our confidence to thrive. So if we eat, sleep, and move as we ought, and we breathe deeply and we stand proud, we will have more confidence and our confidence will thrive. Let me bring this all together with one last thought. Confidence is most abundant when you focus on the mission and the joy of service. You know, folks, the thing that kills confidence more than anything else is self-focus, selfishness, self-absorption, the fear of other people, the fear of other people's judgment, the fear of what people will think of me, that people-pleasing fear that rises up in us that wants other people to be happy with us, that we base our acceptance and our worth in life based on what other people's opinions and grades of us are. And we've talked about that it's good to get feedback and it's good to get objective information and help from people when I'm trying to figure out how to improve. But folks, my value and my worth and what I bring to the table is never about other people's opinion. That's an inside out job. Ultimately, my confidence and my fear is directed to my Creator. That's where my heart is. I can be confident when I know I'm living in fellowship and in righteousness before my God and in repentance and humility. So confidence becomes abundant when we start to love others, when we start to take the focus off of ourselves and we start to shift it on what we can give, not what we can get. When we shift it on to the mission and the calling that we have and the joy that that brings when we serve other people. I want to finish with this question. And I want you to really take a moment here to be very present with it and think about it. The question is this: who would you be and what would you do if you no longer needed anything from anybody? A confident person is somebody who has no need. They are content and satisfied and assured that they're just fine. And that positions them to be and do whatever they want to be and whatever they want to do. So I want you to take that last thought with you today. And hopefully this presentation has been a help to you on confidence. I want to put up a last slide here. This is what I do, Beam Business Services. I'm Dave Beam. I'm a mentor, a trainer, and speaker. We have a lot of wonderful opportunities. Many of them are no cost to you. We have these Hour Power events like today. I have a free weekly email article that I would love to send you. Just let me know. We have mastermind groups of 8 individuals or so that get together and provide their collective wisdom and experience and thoughts for people's problems. I do personal mentoring and coaching, and I facilitate groups and train groups. So we'd love to talk to you about all those opportunities, but I appreciate your time and your attention today. There's our website, there's our email, and there's a telephone number for if you want to get in touch with us. Okay, well, hopefully we have time for some questions, so I'm going to ask our facilitator today to start. Let's just open it up to the group for some questions, and you can use your texting In the software there, you have a place where you can send in and type in your questions, and we'll take questions right now. Thank you.